not that kind of Christian here, and particularly if you are in my area and you do go to the church I go to, and you are following my every single post on social media and complaining to the elders, seniors, vicars, or whatever in my particular church when not that kind of Christian posts something that you don't like and you think might reflect badly on this church. Well, this is me reading from Peter Pan and Wendy by J M Barrie, especially for my friend Chris. That will give away a lot more of where I am. But also, I gather, well, yes, of course, we have Wendy in that location. Wendy, by the way, if you ever meet her, is absolutely lovely. In that location, we also have Jane. We have Donna. Of course, we have Chris. We've got so many. Yeah, and Sonia. Yeah, I don't want to forget Sonia. Sonia, this is for children everywhere. Yeah, and frankly, for anybody who thinks there's still a child. Because you ask me, after 22, you're grown up for good. It can't be undone. It says it in this book. After 22, grown up cannot be undone. Well, Peter Pan realises that. Wendy realises that. So, look, let's get into the story, because otherwise I'm going to burble on for ages. And Chris, I love you, mate. This time you can see my eyes. Okay, look, eyes. Okay. Brain slowing a bit now, Chris. Slowing down a bit. Not quite going on the million-mile-per-hour ride. Okay, so let's begin from this wonderful novel. I love reading this, and I love reading it for you all, and especially if there's any kids in there listening. Yeah, any kids. Yeah, I don't know who you are, where you'll be, or whatever. I don't really care. But if you are listening, just remember this book was written by J M Barrie a long, long time ago, and he gave the money the book made when he sold copies of it to Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital in London. And I would just like you all to know, not just kids, Great Ormond Street Hospital is still there, still treating children and young people, still looking after, still helping them get better. A wonderful facility, and I'm pretty sure if you type "gosh, Great Ormond Street Hospital" into any browser, you could pop along there and maybe give them a bit towards the fantastic work that they do. Not that I'm not in the NHS, mate. No, NHS is cool, but NHS funding, all that lot. What do you think? What do you think, eh? Dodgy, maybe? Anyway, let's get on, okay? Because I've been burbling on for about 3 minutes 40 now. Now to the meat of the story. Chapter 3, Peter, Wendy, and a thimble. Now, it was all dark and quiet in the little darling's room, for the 3 night lights went out almost directly. Mrs. Darling did. But it was only dark for a moment, for a bright light flew in at the window, one side of which was open, and rushed through and fro like a ball of quicksilver. If this light had ever stood still, it would have been seen for what it was: a lovely little girl fairy called Tinkerbell. She was darting all around the room, hunting for Peter's shadow, but that was folded up in a drawer. You know, she never thought of looking there. She was too busy reaching into pockets, behind pictures. She even peered into a jug. It was empty. And she dropped in to see what it would be like. First time she had ever been in a jug in her life, as she did not enjoy it. So her little light was hidden. When Peter himself came in at the window, he guessed where she was. "Oh, Tink, do come out of that jug," he called softly, "and tell me, have you found where they put my shadow?" She answered him in a very tiny, bell-like silvery voice, which is the fairy language. It was the only way she could speak, and that's why she was called Tinker Bell. Peter knew what she meant, though. Nobody else could have understood. She said that his shadow was somewhere in a big box, and she meant the chest of drawers. It was too big for her to open. Peter had his shadow out in a second, and he was so excited getting it back that he shut up Tinkerbell in the drawer and never noticed him. The bother was his shadow wouldn't join on him again. If he'd have forgotten that it belonged to him, he tried to stick it up with soap, but that was no good. The shadows fell off and lay on the floor. Peter was so disappointed about it. He sat on the floor beside it, sobbing loudly. I've done a bit of that myself recently. Wendy was awakened by the sound of sobs. Wendy was awakened by them, okay? Wendy was awakened by the sound of sobs, and she sat up in the bed to listen. She'd seen Peter before in dreams, so that was not a bit surprising to see him now. She asked him quite politely, "Boy, what are you crying for?" Peter got up and they bowed to each other most beautifully. He wanted to know what her name was, and she told him. It was a sweet name. "Wendy, Moira, Angela, darling. What's yours?" she asked. But when he answered Peter Pan, she said, "Is that all?" And this rather annoyed him. He was, after all, a touchy boy. Wendy wished that she had not said, "Is that all?" Touchy, eh, Peter? Touchy, mate, touchy. Like one of my sons. Where do you live?" she went on. Peter answered, "Second turn to the right and then straight on till morning." Famous quote. Wendy nearly said, "Is that all?" again, but she was too polite. She looked at Peter and saw him precisely as he was dressed, in leaves sewn together. Some of the leaves, however, were coming undone. She was just going to offer to fix them for him when he began to explain why he was crying. It was because he could not get his shadow to stick on. So Wendy, of course, fixed a needle and cotton, a thimble, and sewed the shadow back onto Peter's foot. She hurt him a little, but she couldn't help it. When he found that it was now safely stuck on, he danced about and crowed with joy. For to tell the truth, Peter was very conceited. And instead of saying, "Thank you, Wendy, how kind you are," he crowed, "Oh, how clever I am." Wendy was offended, and no wonder. She went back to bed, and Peter had to come and beg her pardon before she'd even peep out from under the blankets. But she was a good, forgiving little girl. And by, she sat by Peter on the side of the bed and said, "If you like, I will give you a kiss." That's where we will leave off, because I can usually only get about 10 minutes on this on YouTube, so you'll be stuck a bit at the end. But continuing next time from Peter, Wendy, and a Thimble, page 27. Chris, Bear, Adams. Especially, this is for you, my dear friend. Bye!